G'day and welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL Senior Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at On-Time Delivery Solutions. My name's Angie, joined by Tara Murray. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Had a couple of cracking semi-finals over the weekend and a few surprises in there as well, particularly with how the game unfolded on Sunday between the Sharks and the Cats. But we'll talk up to the result that really wasn't a surprise, and it was the Bombers that were marching on in to a grand final berth as they did over the Burrows.
It was, obviously, Burrows were one of the teams that did beat the Bombers early on, but we're sort of seeing, as they did in the first week of the finals, that second half, especially the third quarter, seemed to be the difference. Whatever Jamie Elliott saying at half-time is seeming to work the last 2 weeks, and they sort of got out to a decent lead in that third quarter. Diggers Rest probably had their best quarter of the game in that final quarter, but Bombers were able to steady with a late goal, and it sort of dented the hopes of the Burrows. Look, we sort of expected that. Burrows still aren't at full strength. I still think they're missing 4 or 5 of their best side as well. But in the end, the Bombers have shown all season that they're the team basically to beat.
Who were some of the standouts on the day?
Look, obviously, it was a lot of the young guys for Riddle. You had Nathan Crofts was one. And a lot of those young guys, Jamie sort of said players stood up at moments. So a lot of players didn't necessarily play a good 4-quarter game. But I think out of the players named online, I think 4 out of the 6 were all under 19s, if not under 20s. So all very young guys. So you sort of had that. For Diggers Rest, Jamie Lord said there wasn't a lot of standouts. He basically said Taylor Hines was the only winner for them at half-back, and otherwise a little bit disappointing from everyone else.
Tough game there for the Burrows because they would have gone in with great expectations. As you said, they had beaten the Bombers earlier on in the year, but I guess the Riddle steam train has been very hard to beat. That's 14 wins in a row. Is it 15 wins in a row now? So they're looking at Sweet 16 if they take out the grand final.
It is, and obviously the Burrows have been a little bit up and down. We'd seen 2 good performances in a row, probably 2 of their better performances in a row heading into this game, but in the end they just weren't able to do it for 4 full quarters, and that's sort of seen every time they've done that. They have struggled a little bit at times this year to do that, and that's their biggest loss of the season. So I think that loss there is bigger than their other 4 losses all combined. So they were still in the game. You look, it was 4 goals, still a pretty close game, not comprehensively beaten, and they'll probably still take a lot out of that heading into this week's prelim final.
Certainly right there to be very intriguing. I guess that those 2 teams could be facing each other at Clark Oval in a couple of weeks' time too. So that's just a little bit of a warm-up of what may be to come. On Sunday we had a bit of a surprise. The Sharks, the minor premiers, been bundled out in straight sets, but I think the surprise was in the first term. Macedon kicked the first 6 goals of the game and held Rupo scoreless.
Look, I was in a different location and I saw the scoreline 39-0 at quarter time and said, what the heck? And obviously, look, the Cats have hit form at the right time. We talk about teams hitting form. They were dominant against Wallen the week before. They did it again against the Sharks. So the Sharks had a little bit of glimpse of hope early in that second term. They got the margin back to about 24 points, but then by half-time it was back out to 7 goals. And that's sort of that third quarter, the Cats continued what they were doing, and then the last quarter they just rested players. I think they finished with 16 players on the field. The Sharks had a player sent off, so when they went down to 17 men, the Cats went down to 17 men, and then they went down to 16 just to make sure they got everyone through, had no injuries, and prepared for next week, because obviously they know it's going to be a tough match against Diggers Rest. So look, I think the margin surprised a lot of people. We've had the Sharks that have been the strongest team all season. I think they've sort of linked into finals a little bit. Looking at that lineup, they're probably missing a quarter of their best side, including arguably their most important player in Brett Chambers. So obviously they'd be pretty disappointed with that, having played in a grand final last year, won the minor premiership this year, and then to go out in straight sets. Yeah,
and I guess the injuries, they're never a good time to happen, but to have them at this time of year has probably been pretty tough on them. They sort of got Dean Putt into the team. Losing Brett Chambers, just that leadership across half-back's crucial. Having missed Dylan Podolzak for a lot of the year too. It's a lot of these big-name players that were probably crucial to their final success last year were whether either playing it at not 100% or not playing at all.
And look, they're missing Lockie Muir. Nick Grigg was suspended as well, and I think Cam McCrory was another one who's been really good up forward for the side this week. So they're missing a number of key players. And look, we've seen previously, I think Macedon was a clear case of that a few years ago. They linked into a couple of final series and then really struggled. And once you get the full lineup, it does make a big difference. And you mentioned Dean Putt, he'd only been 2 games back. Brent Swallow missed a number of games. He was named their best on the weekend as well, so he did return to some form, but a disappointing end there for them.
Yeah, certainly right. Whereas for the Cats, well, they've hit the form at the right time. They've got some of their big guns back, and Jason Cook settling into the lineup well. They've got some other quality players in there. Great to see Matt Knox continue on his form as he did in week 1 of the finals. think they're a genuine threat and plenty of reasons to get excited about if you're a Cats fan, because they have really flown under the radar for most of the season.
It is. I think they win against Wallen mid-season. Obviously, they said, we don't think we're a contender. That win sort of put them up there and go, yep, we are a contender. And then they struggled a little bit. They dropped that game to Sunbury Kangaroos, which I think has surprised a lot of people. And then we thought, okay, they're sort of only just going as they've come into finals, but hit finals, they're sort of dominated. And you look, obviously, you mentioned Jason Cook. Matt Knox kicked 6, so he's had 2 blind during a week.
14 goals in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you look at their side, they've got nearly a full-strength side. Errol McConnell and Aaron Johnston still missed on the weekend. Speaking with Ben, he said, look, they're both trained. They're both not far off. They possibly might get one, if not both, back for the prelim final. But he said they're not going to take any risk on anyone. They want to take in a full-strength side. So they've got a couple of players there, but obviously a lot of confidence going in there, and they'll be full of confidence heading into that prelim final.
Just quickly, if you do bring in those 2 players, who do you take out?
Well, that's it. That's the key. Who do you bring out? Obviously, Errol McConnell hasn't played a lot of football in recent weeks. And York Johnston is a key forward, and you had a number of different forwards kicking goals in recent weeks. Matt Knox, Jason Cook sort of come back into the side. Kilmartin. You've got Watkins as well, who kicked 3. So you've got a number of different players up in that forward line. It'll be a hard decision at the selection table with those 2 to come back in.
You may end up running the risk of what Rupertswood did by having guys that maybe didn't have match fit experience in the finals. Is a different ball game altogether. But those 2 players we're talking about, they're absolutely sensational. And have an Errol McConnell running through the midfield would be fantastic. But again, who you take out, we're not too sure. But we're definitely sure on the fact that we've got a big game this weekend between Macedon and Diggers Rest at Romsey Park that we'll talk up later on in the week. Thanks to our friends at On Time Delivery Solutions. Tara, thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you later in the week.
Thanks for having me.